host. What's going on, everybody? Reed back here. Reed back here. Reed here. Reed back here. Today, we're going to go through the singularity here. And what do I mean by the singularity? Yeah, I mean something very important. I think this is something you should know. In fact, I'm going to tell you the most important thing you should probably know in your life right now. Let me just briefly go through what the singularity is and why this is so important. Um, in terms of AI, COVID-19 was the end of the Industrial Revolution, and now we're in the glorious beginning of the information age. And you should pay attention to this shift. Why? Because it's irreversible. Why? This is the shift that's going to make the haves and the have nots throughout time. I mean, the haves and the have nots have always been sandwiched together, right? Because the haves own all the resources that the have nots farm, right? And they pay us for the labor that we do, but mainly they own everything. And these two were sort of locked, master slave, right? The owner, the worker, the have nots, right? I think it's like this now. Anyway, yeah, this is a better example. All right, and this is you tilling the soil. And they needed you because they needed to till the soil. We've gone to the point now in the information age where these two are about to separate. Right? So we're about to get separation of the haves from the have-nots. And this is going to be a significant shift. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to affect everything around you. You won't be able to hide from this. You won't be able to run from it. It's going to be everywhere. And how soon it's coming? It's coming right now. Let me show you this definition of what the singularity is. And hopefully, you'll take this seriously. The term singularity is the context of American artificial intelligence. It refers to a hypothetical future point in time when AI surpasses human intelligence, leading to a period of rapid and unpredictable technological and social change and societal change. And you're going to have to get on top of this. It's hard, even my work as a psychiatrist and all the work we're doing with networks and things like that, and with receptors and things like that. AI understands all this stuff. So the complexity of the work may make it easier for you. So no one's safe. No one's safe from this thing. I can see, as a psychiatrist, I can see the AI that we're working on is going to be scale levels better than I am. And, in fact, as soon as I finish launching my AI, I think I may retire because I don't know anything else to do. I'm the vestige of an AI, but this stuff is brilliant to start thinking about, and it's brilliant to create. And I think when we launch our AI, I think it's going to change everything, and it's definitely going to be able to do a better job than I've been doing. So that's where we're at now. And because AI is going to affect so many different markets and things like that, the people who run and own, who have ownership or AI or ownership of the data, these are the people who will have. And if you don't have ownership or the data, then you're part of the have not. And I think that's irreversible. Because once that the haves get into their gated communities and their spaces, they don't share any of the knowledge or the information. And it's all amongst themselves. You know, they don't share with the have nots. So I think the most important thing that you need to do on the south side of Chicago and for my patients and their families is start preparing for this shift that I believe is happening right now. I think you have to take this seriously. I think you have to start planning for these things. And I just wanted to give you some of the few pointers about what some of the things that happens on the south side of Chicago that gives me, that's sort of like the canary in the coal mine. These things have always been here on the south side of Chicago, but it's amazing that in 2025, when we have the capabilities of easily eliminating all this stuff through taxes, tax, we get eliminated a lot of problems just by taxing the people who are creating the problems. Give them a surcharge, a Chicago surcharge tax, where they have to pay extra for these things and stuff like that. Then they pay their fair burden of things, right? But I was looking around the community and I have several concerns because I believe that there are signs of the singularity being here within the community, although these problems are chronic. And let me give you an example of what I'm saying. Okay. With the emergence of the singularity, you're going to have a new category of people who are known as useless people. They don't have a use for you. Previously, they can use you as a slave or some other type of labor or something like that. But now they don't even have a use for you. And what do you do? How do you negotiate when the people who own the factors of production, the resources, no longer have a use for you? Shouldn't those wait, hold on a second. Shouldn't those resources be attached to humanity, not attached to the person who won the game? And I'm not sure if it's good to separate people from these very important societal resources, but I think it's coming. I think it's coming real soon. It's a brutal fight. So I was looking for signs of useless people on the south side. And the south side seems it's an environment where you have a lot of predatory behavior on all sorts of level, damaging peoples from all sorts of direction, all sorts of directions. But I believe that I've picked up a few examples that may indicate the presence of useless people on the south, people being considered useless on the south side of Chicago. So I look at the deaths of the most vulnerable, right? So look here. So I said, look here. Here's just a Google search. Explain the homicide rate on the south side of Chicago. Because useless people who don't have utility or usefulness to others may be likely to become victims. And so we look at who's making up the victims on the south side of Chicago, right? Okay, homicide rates on the south side of Chicago are significantly higher than the city's average, and in certain communities are amongst the highest nationwide, right? Why? Poverty or lack of resources. But see, that doesn't explain. There's poverty and lack of resources everywhere, right? Remember, in California, the homeless problems, you see more people sleeping in homes in the street in California, but in homes and shelters in Illinois. So, gang violence, okay. Yeah, people going around killing people, kill squads, death squads. Okay, racial segregation. Don't no one want these people killing other people going in their neighborhood? Who wants that? I don't think that has anything to do with race. You know, don't let those people who are killing people cross your border, man. You handle all yours instead. Why do you want to leave your community? Handle yours. Handle it. Don't leave gentrification. Nobody's moving into Inglewood. Access to God. Okay. Anyway. So anyway, it is what it is. Um, so um look at this. So the murder rate is higher. So let's look at some of the other things. Okay, while Chicago seems to have decreased in homicide recently, it's 24% drop in the 12 months. Okay, the South Side with the West Side account for a disproportionate number of homicides. Okay, look, the South Side and the West Side is responsible for 9 out of every 10 homicides. Look at that. 9 out of 10 just happens on the South Side and West Side. Okay, not all South Side neighborhoods experience equally high rates of violence. While Woodlawn's homicide rate was once among the highest, it saw a significant decrease in 2002. That's because maybe one family moved out. Maybe one family moved out. So here, yeah, 9 out of 10. Um, uh, 9 out of 10. Um, let's look at here. Here's the next one. Next article saw here. Um, Black Chicagoans 20 times likely to be homicide victims, and arrest rate hits records low. The arrest rates are going down, right? There's no point in investigating these things anymore, you know. Um, hopes of catching killers hits a new low. Look, more than 3/4 of Chicago homicide victims were black. This isn't necessary in 2025, right? Look at this: 369 African American men and 69 female. Look at this number here. 422. Wait, look at that. Okay, here. This is 2019, and so, yes, that got up to 800, and these numbers are sickening because these are real people. These are real people with real families, and you can see the trauma. Just 800 families in one year. 700 families. This is just awful. And these are the families of the people who are murdered, and then the other ones who are doing it. This is just, this is awful. So 9 out of 10 homicides, South and West Side, right? Look, so and 80% of the murders go unsolved. So you see how effective no snitching is, where they'll kill you, know what's going on, and nobody says anything about it. And this is 2025 with all this surveillance and all of the stuff. It's like this. See, it's like this for a purpose. And then I was looking deeper into the data. Look, it's awful here. Among the victims, 109 Chicagoans were under the age of 20. It represented 18.4% of all homicide victims. Yeah, in this data, close to 20% of the homicidal victims are under 18. And so on the south side of Chicago, 20% of the unsolved murders are murders of children. And so when we think about this category of useless people, We don't hear anything from our community leaders about these things. You know, for the organizations in these neighborhoods, for the churches, for the hospitals, it's like 20% of our children are being murdered and no one's doing anything about it. I mean, 20% of all of the murders are involving children below this age, and the adults don't protect them. That's a deep societal problem. It's a deep societal problems when the community allows people to kill children and no one does anything about it. Let me look here. So I wanted to compare Southside Chicago to other communities, right? So I just pull up Naperville because we have a really good school system. And you look at this, look at this, look at this. Man, thank good for them. Since 2022, they only had 3 murders. Murder slaughters, manslaughter. I think Chicago's just murder. 3. I don't think that community would tolerate um, killing of his children. Here, so I started looking up other statistics about these very young, poor very victims. I mean, this is the worst of all. When adults who purport to be uh, upstanding citizens of the community, leaders of the community, things like that, and you say, "Hey, what do you do about your children being died? 20% of the murders are children. Any plan for that?" Absolutely not. You know, um, absolutely not. I would rather side with the children. You know, these victims don't have anyone standing up for them while they're being murdered by probably adults. And look here, part 2. Who goes missing? Look at this. Black children make up nearly 60% of missing person cases. And these are rooted in systemic racism. You sure? But police data make them hard to analyze. You mean you can't track down a missing child? You don't know where they lived last? You don't know where the parents were, who the adult they were with? How come all this stuff is fuzzy? And then look at this. Look at just the sheer numbers: black, white, Hispanic. If you look here at this Asian population or this black population or this white population here, all of this stuff is unnecessary. This is just disposable baby. You know what I'm saying? That's disposable baby, disposable shorties, disposable kids. These are the humans here who go missing and nothing else show, and they never what do they never show up? They never appear again. It's a lot. It's a lot. Over what period of time? This isn't one year. Is it in 2000? This is one year. In 2017, the Chicago Council questioned police officers about the racial disparity. Okay. Okay, young people do make up a large portion of missing person cases in Chicago and beyond. according to police and FBI data. That's not in everybody's community. Let me see what do I have next. Um, Getting back to the point of singularity. Um, yeah, so one of the um, issues I wanted to sort of focus on, at least with my patients, other residents on the south side of Chicago, people who are in this community but don't really understand how things work or how things operate. I think you'll have to take this into consideration. I think that one statistic gives you a very good idea about um, what's happening in the communities. You know, and this is happening to this scale. I would just encourage you to think about migrating out of this area for your own protection and for the protection of your young boys. You know, I don't think that it's safe. Um, and another thing is, I don't think that you want to get caught up in all the traps or the schemes that goes on in this community from people who are preying on a community or exploiting the community or exploiting the resources in the community. That exploitation system is there, it's very prominent, and you don't want to clash into that system because they will reach out and harm you for interfering with their interests on the south side of Chicago. And this is just business as usual, taking care of business, but I think you have to really start thinking about this concept of the singularity and the concept of uselessness and being uselessness, because you never want to fall in one of those categories. You never want to fit in any of those categories, because I believe they sort of like suck you in like prey. I don't believe um, that the process of that people are voluntarily falling, that he's falling into these situations. They're probably sucked into them by the people who would eventually make them disappear or harm them. You know, so think about this concept of the singularity being here. And so, what are some of the solutions? I think some of the solutions are you're going to have to retool. I mean, you're going to have to start learning. Second thing is that you're going to have to start learning how to develop software or AI or things like that. And the third thing I think is most important, you have to shift. You have to make a shift from human managed organization to um, AI managed organizations. So if I have to look over the past 10 years, I've made the most resources or profits from like networks, like either investing in stock as a network or cryptocurrency as a network or things like that. Me putting my resources in these type of impersonal networks always gave me more gains than putting my resource into a business that's run by individuals. Typically the businesses that were run by individuals typically took all my profits. So, and they kept them for themselves. But the networks that I involved in, like cryptocurrency platforms or stock, then I was able to put resources in those, and those grow. So the one of the most important thing you probably need to start thinking about in terms of the singularity is, number one, you do not want to be caught with the have-nots, because I think that's a permanent structure, and you're going to have to start the process of adapting, transitioning out of the industrial revolution and beginning your new life in the information age. I don't believe it'll take too much time to retool. I think it may take someone maybe 3.5 years or 4 years of dedication to retool, but I think you'll get there to the haves or have nots. Um, um, we um, Our team, we're building platform. The platform we're going to be launching is called Genesis. It's an AI creation platform, so it's called Genesis.ai, and we're going to launch this soon. Um, And it's a platform that helps you structure your data. And as you structure your data, then you're able to build the quality of your data up. And our platform will help you manage the quality of that data up until the point where we can attach it to an AI, and then you'll get expression of all those ideas through your AI. So the platform we're going to launch is an AI creation platform. And it's been very helpful for me because I've been able to design a private healthcare system on top of it. So we're going to be launching that soon, and we're going to be taking care of our clients on our platform and then helping them find what hospital they want to go to, and sort of watching over them to make sure that no unscrupulous doctor try to take over their care, taking stealing patients and things like treating you without consent. You have doctors treating patients without consent now. Stupid, dangerous. Okay, so think about that in terms of a singularity, and think about that in terms of what you're going to do to get into the haves. I hate to describe it like that. You have the haves and then the have-nots. I think it's going to be that brutal, that division. Either you have the resources. I think it comes down to it. I think it all comes down to data, ownership of data. I think that's it. Either you have ownership of data, a significant amount of it that's very useful for everyone, or you don't. So our platform really helps you organize this information. Um, let's see. Let me see if I can go ahead and take a few questions right now. And I appreciate the interest. Hey, iHash, your session yesterday on the singularity was very nice. Thank you so much. uh, thank you so much. I think it's an interesting subject, and I'm trying to pull more out of it. Because you start looking around and see useless people. See rooted people, um, um, people who would be considered useless. Um, Next here, hey Maureen, how can we balance rapid AI progress with protecting and nurturing human values? Values depend upon the person. it's not it depends on the person, so you can't protect them. You can only accept the values in front of you. And they most likely going to agree with you because they're going to have the values that protect them, not you. So good luck with that. Okay. AI hash, how could AI enhance human creativity, or could it stifle it instead? I know. I think it'll put, remember I said after I launched my AI, I think I'm going to retire, right? Why? Because what else am I going to think of? It does everything better than me. And so, will it ultimately stifle my creativity? Because I'm gonna be relaxed. I'm not gonna do nothing about that. I'm sure it will stifle my creativity. Uh, so I don't know. It's gonna, the platform that we've created has the AI component to it, and where it sort of teaches the person how to practice medicine and how to come up with teach them different concepts on how to apply this and that. Very interesting. So I think it's going to unlock like unlimited learning potentials, because you can learn all the time on this thing. So I think it's definitely going to do that. That's going to enhance it. That's going to, I think it's going to, it's not going to be so hard to become a doctor anymore, because the AI is going to explain the stuff to you, and it can explain it to the way that it makes sense to you. You know, so I'm looking forward to all of the changes it's going to make. Okay, guys. Now, I think that's all I have for now. I just want to encourage you to be mindful of the singularity. And the next episode, I think I'm going to go. Um, this episode was about children, and basically how the community doesn't protect its own children. 20% of them, whereas other communities 0 percentage. There's something serious with that. I think our next episode, I think I'm going to look at maybe healthcare on the south side of Chicago. If not healthcare, then the economics on the south side of Chicago, or the population. And I think we may see huge shifts. We may see pick up other categories of people who would probably considered useless, and therefore you'll see their deaths happening at disproportionate rates, and no one follows up. So it's a pleasure meeting everybody. Read out. I'll talk to you later, guys. Take care. All right. Ciao.